I'm absolutely delighted today to be introducing Kai Mattson. Kai is joining us today from Meritime Consulting, where he's an animal behaviourist, and he also works at Särkänniemi Aquarium as a senior animal care expert. Kai will pronounce that better than I have in just a minute. So Kai is extremely experienced in aquatics, and so he's got 4 decades of professional experience within animal care. He's worked on lots of different roles, lots of different species, and he started at Finland's first public aquarium, where he's still managing tropical marine fish, and also doing things with reptile care, exhibit design, animal welfare, and husbandry. Kai is the founder of Meritime Consulting, and he specialises there in animal behaviourism, training, and animal welfare. He's going to be talking to us about some of those things today, looking at enrichment, learning, and cognitive abilities. So Kai's got a really wide range of experience with domestic and exotic animals, and he's going to be talking about and his experience within the animal training industry. He's also got lots of experience with aquatic environments, conservation, and aquarium and zoological design as well. So Kai has worked with lots of different stakeholders on conservation of marine species and worked with lots of different organisations, including EAZA, European Association of Aquatic Mammals, and also the International Marine Animal Trainers Association. He is currently an EAZA Animal Welfare Working Group member and an EAZA Academy instructor, and he has published a book only available in Finnish at the moment, but it is under translation and looking at animal training principles. So with that, I'll hand over to Kai. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kai.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I hope you guys all hear me well, and I'm very happy and honored to share a bit of my experience. And I do have to apologize, my voice, I lost it 2 days ago, and but hopefully we'll do fine. So what is my title was the holistic welfare for aquatic species. So what would be a dream? Can we dream of that kind of thing or not? Or not? Sure. If we dream big dreams, then we can access them at some time. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm having a problem with the, whoops. Let's go back on that slide. I had a slight problem with the presentation. Anyhow, we've come far from this picture of a goldfish in the jar. And actually, the very first meaning of the aquarium was a watery garden. Only after science discovered circulation of oxygen and carbon dioxide, kind of a modern type of aquarium keeping got on the way, but that was still with the scientists and the upper class in the late 1800s. So there are a few things that we're gonna go through today on my presentation, and this is very practical oriented, and things that I've been involved and the animals that I've worked with. Still, when I was pulling this together, I kind of thought that it's only a scratch on the surface. So hopefully we'll get further on this, and by sharing our experiences, we will get further also on the welfare of the aquatic species. The facility that I work on my day work is called Särkänniemi Aquarium, and it's the eldest aquarium in Finland. It was established in 1969. We have about 1,500 individuals, 15 to 1,700 individuals of 150, 170 species plus some reptiles. The staff is very small. There's only 4 of us, 2 full-time, and I'm the only person working full-time at the aquarium. The other person is part of the year on other animal attraction. Our responsibility is animal care, and of course, and then I have the privilege of working with the welfare and behavioral management of animals. So I've been experiencing some animal training with the aquatic species. Now, most of us do know the basic principles of animal welfare. They all started with the 5 freedoms, then 12 criteria welfare, and now we're working on 5 domains. So the question kind of is that, can we implement those also with the aquatic species? And the answer is yes, at least in some degree. And if we don't try, we will never get there. I think it goes to the 3 main sort of topics. It's physiological well-being, psychological well-being, and possibility for the animals to express their natural behaviors. However, when we're talking about animals in the aquatic environment, we are facing a few challenges. One is that the estimated number at some form is somewhere between 35 to 40,000 known species. So we just need to know how we do our homework. The other challenge is, of course, the accessibility to the water element. I mean, we live in a different element than the other species in the water. It can be a possibility, but it's also a challenge, definitely. Now, getting further. Come on. Sorry, I'm getting again some problems with this presentation for some reason. Jammed. There we go. With any animals, we have a certain space to work with. With aquatic species, it's more 3-dimensional, maybe a bit more 3-dimensional compared to regular land animals. And also that kind of gives us new challenges. And I believe that aquatic species have a lot better way of exploring the environment than we usually think. That they have they know how to take advantage of the 3-dimensional aspect in their environment. So of course, when we work with an aquarium or aquatic environment, there's loads of elements that we can put in there, like gravel, stones, tree trunks, plants, algae, sand, coral. But usually the water quality is one of the main elements that we focus on. And that is important because we need to know what kind of in what kind of an environment the animals can thrive. So the water quality, I mean, we talk about pH, temperature, hardness, how soft water is, and those are vitally important, and they should not be neglected. But today, I'm not talking about those. I'm kind of hoping to get us thinking of what can we do to improve sort of mental welfare of the animals instead of the water quality. These elements probably are quite familiar for all. So what are the natural needs, or how can we improve the natural needs for different animals? Here are some examples, and I took in a few semi-aquatic species. On the left corner, there's a dwarf caiman, and I believe that a visual barrier for that species is a surface plant. When we talk about how safe the animals think they are, it's not necessarily how we think what is safe, but how the animal feels, or how the animal knows that it is safe. Then we can use stones or plants. I think the cutest animal in this slide is the small shell dweller from Tanganyika lake on the top, and they need a shell where they can. That's their territory, where they breed, where they live. So those are kind of things that we need to be aware of when we are talking about different species. And with axolotl, we have here some plants and jars. Not everything has to be natural, but I prefer that we use more natural items in the aquariums. And it seems my show jammed again. I'm truly sorry about this. Mm. The one species that we have here is a Morea, honeycomb Morea, and this is something that we built in the back of the pool tunnels for it. There are multiple tunnels, so it has a choice on which tunnel it can go, and it's a place to hide. Oh, okay, now we got further. I'm sorry. On this picture, we have kind of bottom dwellers. In the middle here, Corridor's family, catfish. With land animals, we talk a lot about choice and the substrate. So I prefer to put some very small grain sand for this type of animals, but also different size of sand. So at least in principle, the fishes have possibility for making a choice, which is considered to be important for their welfare. Do they do that? I don't know. They go after the food, which is more important, of course, then. And reproduction is also a very important factor for welfare for the animals. And for that, of course, we need to know the species again. Which one prefers stone or leaf or like with labyrinth fish, they want to do the bubble net. Discus is a very interesting species in many ways, but also because it nurses its offspring, the fry, from its with a sort of a slime on its surface, on its skin. Some fishes again are having their offspring in the mouth, and that is also important to know. Mhm. It seems that I get jumped on this slide again. Oh,
Do you want to try stopping sharing, Kai, and going to get... Oh, it's coming
yeah,
back through.
let's try that. I'll stop sharing and I'll come back to this. Okay, let's hope we are lucky with this one. Mm. Now I think I missed one slide. Oh, I missed it earlier. Sorry. Okay. One way to produce some safe place for the animals is by plants. Here in the left, a Malawi fish on between the plants. Maria, I explained earlier that we build up them from some tubes, or then build up the coral so that they can get in them, or symbiosis with the clownfishes and anemones. Funny thing with the piranha is that we can talk about safety of the pod. I mean, when you work with the piranhas, it seems that they have a very bad reputation, but when we work with them, they're kind of scary animals. So it's a social structure for of the school of them, or also the feeding is a kind of a social interaction, and they get a lot of safety from their mates in the pod. This one, yes, we went through already. And we go further. So a bit more kind of things that we can reinforce or make happen for the animals. Me. I'm sure this is quite annoying, but let's try. Truly sorry for the convenience of this happening in here. Always gotta get some technical problems. Anyhow, I've used algae powder for sea urchins, or in this case for butterfly fishes and a buffer fish. You can buy that from quite a few stores, and then you squeeze it in the rock and put it this time on front of a buffer fish. But it works pretty well with sea urchins too, or butterfly fishes. The other way to provide seaweed is by just a regular sushi algae sheets. So it's again a different way of providing the food for the animals. That do fishes have sense how the food feels? I mean, with the piranhas, you can use a different type of food for them for nutritional value. I mean, you can use small mice or beef or fish, but also at the same time, it provides them a different feeling of the food. With a few species, you can use that, maybe with sharks, and that's also considered to be one factor of animal welfare. Of course, the very traditional way of feeding the animals is just giving the food in the water and let it flow in there, like in here with the seahorses. And that is a very good way of providing the food for the animals. And it creates foraging behavior. It's a bit short-timed, and hence we try to do these type of things for, like with the algae, that it takes a bit more time for the animals to do that. With seahorses, we also made a feeding station for them, which is not popping out here. Let's try again. When we got the seahorses, the tube goes up on the surface, and you can put the food in the tube, and then it comes to this sort of a platform, and they can hang around with the bar, with the tail, and worked very nice with the seahorses. That was just to secure that they got the food. Another very special species is an archerfish, and they're very talented in shooting their food. I think it's from a meter and a half distance they can shoot the food and catch flies by that way. It is a very interesting way of feeding, and it creates a lot of talent if you think how the light reflects from the surface. So the actual prey is completely elsewhere where they are seeing it. I was kind of thinking that how can I do that or provide that kind of thing? And actually these fishes were originally one of the first animals first fishes I trained. So I took a regular ice cream spoon, which you can see in the setting soon, and I used a minced shrimp. There's enough resistance that the shrimp stays in the spoon, and it hangs around the pool. And you can soon see one of the first shots. We also used this as a trainer talk, and it was a performance that we did for audience, for public. They're really accurate. I mean, it's of course genetically or programmed in them, but the accuracy is the learned behavior. There you saw the first set, and soon here comes the second. And a bit delayed feeding. What I like about this is that it also fulfills certain training principles that if they miss, they just don't get food, and it creates more motivation for them when they're not getting food every time that they spend. So at the moment we have a second generation, and they're a bit lazier, but we're getting there. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to stop the sharing again, and we'll get back to this again. It's quite amazing. Okay, let's try again. Okay, the other species that I think is kind of a Marvel superhero is the blind cavefish, which lives in Mexico, and they have. I mean, I was taking care of them, and then I noticed some peculiar behavior with them, and I started to study why they do sort of a circle swim, and I found out that there's a lot of research done, and they find a VAB, vibration attraction behavior. They do have a lateral line like any fish, but they can sort of magnify the effect of the lateral line by doing a circular swim. And this research team had studied, I think, 4 or 5 different populations, and everyone did it. And it was very interesting to see how they did that. And the VAB is partly due to that when they did a CAT scan, they found out that the skull of the Mexican tetra is asymmetric, and hence it kind of magnifies the attraction of the stimulus in the environment, and makes the foraging a lot easier. They do have a smell and taste sensors in the head also, so they're really superb animals. And what they found out that the results indicate the candidate cavefish use similar sensor modality to surface fish in the dark, but the stimuli is higher with the cavefish because of the circular strategy to capture food. And everything doesn't have to be very expensive always. So these are just regular, you can buy it from any aquarium shop, regular food pellets for bottom-dwelling fishes. And what I found out was that these guys are actually doing the very same as the natural living creatures. They really like the pellets, and when they take it in their mouth, and once they drop it, immediately they start to do the circling swim to find the prey better. At this time, it's a kind of first there you can see it very clearly. So to be able to provide this type of behavior for animals, I find it very fascinating, because this is a very innate behavior for those fishes, and we are in the essence of welfare for this species. A lot easier way, looks very familiar. Enrichment item for lobster. You hide the food in the tube with the holes in it, and I believe that it also gives smell. They need to do search and taste, and do a bit more work for finding the food. I did a similar thing for rescue fishes. Oh, sorry, there's another one before. It's a semi-aquatic turtle. We have 4 of these, Florida cuda and red slider. And just made an ice cake for them. This is something that I did a lot with dolphins while I was working with them. We did fish cakes, but with these guys, it's a salad cake, and that's very popular. This one is actually from last Saturday, and it gives them a bit more work to get their food, and it's very popular. They like it. They're very fast. If you go work with this type of turtles, I mean, they're hungry all the time. But it's a fun enrichment, kind of an enrichment item. Many of these are, of course, food oriented, and there might be a reason for that. Okay. Here with the rescue animals, we have a pool where we have quite many of them are rescue animals. So I made up this type of a spear out of acrylic. There were few reasons. One, it's that I thought the fishes can see it a lot better. Also, they have a sense of smell in it. And this one is also very popular with the public. So the public can see how the fishes play and how they hunt or forage for the food. The surprising thing for this to me was the stingray. It's a freshwater stingray, and how practical and good it was with the ball. There's a short video of that. It takes them about half an hour, 45 minutes to get all the pieces of food out of it. And at the beginning, I used Baltic herring, which is kind of has a lot more fat on it, and it's more smelly, so it reinforced them to be more active. And this is there you go, you got a nice piece of food. Very practical with this ball, very handy. Okay, getting into this is kind of natural behavior again for some species, but if anyone ever has had marine aquariums, Aptasia is a class animal which is a nuisance. It's an alien species. I don't know anyone who has ever purchased it. It's a vermin species, and the toxicity of this animal is a bit higher than with many others. Hence, it can take a lot of space for it, and it's very reproductive. So one way to get rid of it is to use poison, which is safe for the reef. But there are other ways also. I mean, you can use a sea slug here. The Bergia numibranch is solely eating Aptasia, but it was a bit difficult to purchase for us, so we didn't get that one. The other one that you can use is the permanent shrimp, which is also eating them, but not every individual is eating, so it's not that sure. What I wanted to try was the butterfly fish, the copper band butterfly fish, which also states by the literature that not all individuals are eating Aptasia, but we were lucky and they were really successful in cleaning the whole pool. And this one's not my video, but this is how the thing works. And it's so much easier to get a species that does the work for you instead of trying to get rid of those animals with our means with toxin. This was very successful, and we have the Aptasia in other pools also. So I thought that, hey, why don't we transfer them to another pools? And I mean, you can use net, and that's a very easy way. But with the coral reefs, it's always a bit difficult to work with the net in there. So I thought that maybe I can train these copper fly fish. Now we're stuck again. I'm sorry, I'm stopping this again. Let's see. So I took a regular candy jar and placed it in the top of the pool or aquarium, and placed some food in there with a lot of patience and multiple times. It was quite successful, and I managed to get. We had 4 of the copper band butterfly fishes, and I managed to get 2 of them in the jar. And a few times I already tilted the jar so that I had them in the jar, and I'll let them go back into the pool right away, because if you're familiar with animal training, then you have to build up the trust by that mean. So it was very promising. And at that point, when I was successful, I kind of started to Google, has anyone else done it? And I understood that at least I think in London Zoo, this has been worked with and somewhere in Australia. Only I did it in the aquarium that was able for public to see. However, life brings curveballs, and we got marine itch in the pool, white spot disease, and that was like hitting a brick wall. It's caused by a parasite, and the life cycle is about a month. So, and we couldn't use any Mattson in the pool because Mattson contains often copper or other metals, and those will kill all the invertebrates. So the program stopped for a long, long time. But then I started to gradually go back and try again. So I thought maybe I'll try it with the target, or more or less like a feeding station. So I took this, it's actually a can lid from a fish food jar. And I froze some Artemia or mucis in it, and then took it into the pool so that the animals could come and eat from the feeding station. And then the next step was to glue that in the jar and try what happens. This program is kind of still underway, and this is where I am now. Do I ever get this done? I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see. Of course, the fishes are a bit now larger, and there's one of the copper band fishes in there too. And the cleaning shrimps they would love to come into the jar. I mean, they come to feed from my hand, actually. Okay. Now, luring is the method that I've been using in training the animals. It sounds very simple, and but I've always wanted to have purpose for it. Here's a green Moria, and it sounds very basic thing. They just come to feed from the tongs, but there's a reason for that too. This one was one of the animals that we showed for the public while feeding it. So at the very beginning, we started to feed it from one spot so that the animal came out and people could see it easily. The same thing we're doing now with the sturgeon. And eventually, I hope this will bring him into the further so that we can train this into a target training. Maybe then direct the animal in a specific spot. But this is also giving us possibility to give supplementary vitamins for the animals, or if in case we would need to, for some reason, medicate the animals. So it's a very handy tool for us, and also guarantees that these individuals get fed well. Now you can change it into a target, and here we have a Australian Arana. It's taught for a hand target. This is more or less just experience again. No higher meaning or purpose for that, but it's a fun factor to do. Then one of my favorite was the MBU bufferfish, which is from Congo River. It's the largest freshwater bufferfish. And with that one, I also, at the beginning, used luring with the tongs and a food. But at this time, this guy had a task, and it was supposed to go through a hoop, which was made out of a net. And what I wanted you to see, and I'm trying to stop the video in the proper place, that at this point, I'm not using a I'm not using any food item to lure the animal, so it's getting into a target at this point here. Okay, didn't work. But anyhow, I used only the tongues, and then I fed the animal after it had done the task. I'm sorry for the technical problems that this is bringing. The bufferfish and the bamboo shark, unfortunately, are not with us anymore, but they gave us very valuable information on animal training with these aquatic species. With bamboo shark, I started to work to get on a stretcher. Bufferfishes and sharks are trained a lot in different aquariums. In this setting that we had, I built up, I manufactured a stretcher for the bamboo shark, and it was quite surprising that I was the only one who was training it, and we fed the animal twice a week with 4 pieces of food, and it was less than 2 months that I got the animal in this stage. Here's one. Of course, the stretcher is a cue for the animal, but I also use tapping on the water surface as a cue, and of course, the smell for that animal. When you see me holding the animal, I'm not really holding it strongly. Oftentimes, the animal kind of stayed there, and I had to pull it out, or sometimes I lifted the stretcher so that maybe in the future it would have been possible to weight the animal. And I think that this guy really enjoyed being in the stretcher. So coming into it, and of course there's a lot of reinforcement for it to get all the sort of free food just laying down on this stretcher. And this training session also ends up in a phase where I pull it out of there. It gave us a very good opportunity again to give supplementary vitamins, and this guy we needed to give some medicine also at some point, and it was 100% guarantee that the animal got the medicine. Okay, what about play? I mean, many aquatic species play. Dolphins, marine mammals are known for their social skills and the way you play. Do fish play? This is actually a question for you guys. And do you think this is play? Well, this one is not play, to my opinion. Goldfishes are used for many purposes, and there's a side where you can see how they're trained to play soccer or basketball. So this is training. I did a very quick test with Malawi piglets, and this is just with an Easter egg toy container, and fishes are curious what happens in the environment, so they're curious. But if there's no reinforcement, no food involved, they lose their interest quite quickly. At least this is my point of view. Hopefully, if you have other opinions, I would appreciate it hearing them.
About 5 minutes left, Kai.
Right. Just at the end. Another question, stores are selling for better, stores are selling toys for them to rest on an artificial leaf. Now, is this play? I don't know. I've seen the similar behavior from other bettas and when I've been taking care of them, and I would say it's an innate behavior for them. They like to rest on the leaves, which is good. I mean, you can buy that, but I wouldn't categorize it as a play behavior. What about self-consciousness? Betta is one of the fighting fish is one of the fishes that reacts on mirror quite strongly. But again, I don't believe it's self-consciousness. It's seeing another male, so it's fighting for its territory. On the contrary to dolphins, which are considered to be very self-conscious and play with the mirrors. So where do we go further? This is the start. I mean, and there's been a lot of work done. How can we further improve the aquatic animal welfare and broaden our view of the cognitive learning behavior, capabilities, or memory, just by experiencing? Sharing is caring. So when we do experience this and we share our information, we all get further. So maybe our next Uber driver is a goldfish. And there's a twist on this because this actually has already been done and trained by an Israeli scientist team from Ben-Gurion University. And they built up this FOV, a fish-oriented vehicle that a goldfish could drive. And on the left, you can see the device and the fish in it. I didn't take the YouTube video on this because I have nothing to do. This is just a fun factor. No, but on the right you can see the setup and the road, the full road that the fish drove. So according to how the fish is directing itself in the tank, the FOV finds its way to the target, and once the fish gets to the target, it is rewarded. I think that's it. So I thank you for your time. I'm sorry for the inconvenience of the technical problems, but we got through.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Kai, and thank you so much for persevering with all of the technical difficulties. Zoom is here to test us. That was a really fabulous talk. So we will welcome any questions at this point. I've got a couple that have come in that we can kick off with. Just the first one is what do you think are sort of some of the key challenges that are faced by aquatic species, and how do you think we could overcome some of those with some of the methods that you've talked about today?
I think the challenge is that one of the big challenges is that we are in a different element. So it's kind of easier to put some like I explained, the algae thing and see how the animals react on that. But if we're trying to do some behavior management, then that of course is a challenge. My history, I mean, most of my time I work with the aquatic species, so it kind of creates a way of thinking how you can overcome those. But and of course, when we talk about fishes, there's a lot of variety, sort of personal variety that not all individuals behave the same way. Like when I was talking about the buffer fish, we have another one in the next door, which is marine species, and it's kind of bizarre personality. It's shy, but it's kind of bold when we're feeding it. But even with that personality, we managed to train it to eat on a specific spot so that we can guarantee that the other species can be fed easily on the other spot.
Mhm. Okay, great, thank you. That actually leads me really nicely into the next question that we've got in the wings. How do you balance group welfare with individual welfare? Because obviously that's quite a challenge, especially in a mixed species exhibit.
That's true. I think the group welfare starts from when you're planning the exhibit, when you're planning the aquarium, so that you find out the species that are capable of being together, or you can do biotype kind of aquarium or a geotype aquarium, which is a bit broader and gives you a little bit more flexibility. Of course, you have to think of the size of the animals that you have in the exhibit that, basically they don't eat each other. So I think that's, and then you can think of layers that if you have bottom dwelling fish or fish that are in the middle area, so you can balance that. So I think that's a key point at the very beginning before you do anything else.
Mhm. Okay, lovely, thank you. Okay, just going down the list now. So we've got another one here. How can we promote positive welfare for fish, but also have like an economic lens on it? So what are the kind of the direct and indirect economic benefits of positive welfare for fish, kind of with the rationale that maybe that's going to encourage more change if we can apply an economic benefit as well as the welfare benefit.
Oh, that's a tough one. You just have to work with, oftentimes you have to work with your gut and what is available, and then try to find some sort of a balance that it gives a benefit on both directions. I don't know if I'm really answering to the question, but oftentimes when you plan for making I mean, one thing that you can do is that you use tank bred species, which nowadays are very much available. But when you plan uh, to make a certain setup, and then you go and you try to purchase them somewhere, they're not available. So it's a kind of a tricky. Uh, it really is a line in the water.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. I've got another one here. What does So you mentioned at the start of your presentation, you were talking about sort of mental welfare as obviously one of the things we need to achieve. What does mental welfare look like for aquatic species, and how would you recommend that those are assessed in practice?
Um, it is a challenge because I mean, with marine mammals, it's a bit easier, but when you go to the fishes, I oftentimes when we get new people or I work with new people, I say that you need to spend time with the animals, that you know how the animals behave and how what is their natural behavior, what is ab natural, not natural. So mm, we can do our homework and try to find out if there are some things that we can promote, some innate behaviors that we could promote. That is one thing. Like with these few examples that I gave. Uh, but really, you have to. It's a lot more difficult to interpret how fish is, how their mental behavior, especially if we're talking about small fishes like tetras or some school of marine fishes. It's kind of easier if you have one basically larger individual. So it's a lot easier to follow that. But it is a challenge. You just need to spend time with them and try to find a best solution.
Mhm. Thank you. We've got a question actually related to that. So, if you've got a species that you know a little bit less about, how do you sort of recommend finding out what their sort of behavioral needs are?
Well, fortunately, we have internet, but it's also a trap that really need to find different sources. Networking is very important. That you get people from your country or internationally, and try to dig in. Some species are really difficult to find. I mean, I've had species that don't have that even don't have a Finnish name, so I just pop up with the name for them. So I don't really have an answer for that, but just digging.
Okay, thank you. I think we've got time just for one more quick question. So this one's it's a little bit different, but I think it's a really interesting question.
Okay.
So it's just come in. We have got lots of different school groups, and how would you recommend that we involve them more in fish welfare activities? And then sort of related to that, how do we sort of encourage those groups and people in general to be more mindful of fish welfare when they're sort of interacting with the exhibits?
Of course, sharing the information of the fishes, and if you have someone to work with them and talk with them. And I found out that those, like the archer fish, or when you do a sort of a trainer talk, I mean, I'm calling it trainer talk, but it's a caretaker talk. So when you get some specific species that has a talent like archer fishes, it's an excellent spot to speak of all the other species also. So I believe that one-to-one talk with the audience or the public is the best way of delivering the message, and also that we take the best care of the animals that we have under our care.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. So I think we'll draw it to a close there. If anybody's got any more questions, then please do reach out to Kai. I'm sure he's very happy to take emails. And thank you so much, Kai, for today's talk. Thank you for battling through those internet difficulties. It was absolutely fine. From our point of view, it still went really well, and it was a really interesting and useful webinar. So just so everybody knows, this will be available on YouTube in the not too distant future. We will get that up as soon as we can, and all of the other webinars, sorry, are also available on there as well. And then keep an eye out for our next webinar, which will be advertised. That one's coming up in June. So thank you so much.
And absolutely, if you have any questions further, send me an email, and we'll continue for the mayor.